Hello and welcome back to the final stage, which is the last module of this entire course, where we'll be dealing with mainly animation of the car, but also how we can set up the render to create very stunning visualizations of these animations. So what we'll do is we're gonna start off first with setting up the lighting. Once we get sorted the lighting, we are going to work on the post-process details in terms of creating better stunning render settings so that it will be easier for us to also use this for the rendering later on for lumens as well as path tracer. And also what we're going to do is to set up the car and each shot individually so that it looks really cool from different angles, and then we can use this to finally render the final animation. So in this case, what I'm going to do first is to basically start off with the lighting and see how much we can actually adjust so that make it look much more convincing, but at the same time feeling much more atmospheric with the entire scene and environment itself. First things first, this is pretty much the given setup layout of the lighting. So what you might see here is exactly the same how it's supposed to be set up as a default when it comes to creating a new level in Unreal. So I haven't changed anything. The only major change I'll possibly do here is to perhaps add a little bit this very cool realism. In this case, I'm going to set up the volumetric fog. Once you are selecting exponential high fog, I will turn on a volumetric fog. Of course, you can change albedo to make sure it's accustomed to this entire environment. However you like it, it's entirely up to you. But for this period, I'm going to use as it is. And you can, of course, up your scattering distribution. And also, if you want to, you can slightly more scatter your extension scale so it scales up the entire fog. And also, you can adjust how far the fog will be viewed and the starting its distance from the camera. So the further away from the camera, the parts that you don't really see on the naked eye would be a fog, just like it is naturally happens in the nature. And also I'll definitely pretty much do here, because we already done volumetric fog, I'm going to also adjust the lighting. So it depends entirely on your shots, but feel free to play around with this. You can change this however you want to. And you can go back again to your volumetric fog. If you need to, you can also adjust some more bits there too. So if I like tap in volumetric fog, so you can see how stunning it started to look. And that's so cool because how you see the light start to scatter through that fog density entirely through entire, as you may see, all the other parts that are scattered around this case environment. And feel free to play it on your own time, however you want to. I think pretty much we are ready to go. So the next bit what I'll definitely do is to start adding the things that we need. So in this case, I'm going to add the car. The car we've been working on previously on the previous module. Drag and drop into your scene. As if you get closer, as you may notice, your car rig has already created for a sequencer. And now you see our rig control has been enabled and it's ready to go. As you can see, if I try to select the car, try to push it through, of course, now you see physics are reacting to the scene. So if I wanted to maybe adjust some turns around, and if you want to decrease your suspension or increase your suspension off the ground, then of course you're most welcome, but you have to do this inside your rig, just like we showed in the previous module. And I think we're good to go. So next bit, what I'll definitely do here is to add special spline that helps us to animate the car. Because technically what you can do is to make the car drive through just like you have it using the dragon, one of the gizmo arrows, and then you can animate it by keyframing the position of the car. But what's the most easiest but also more cleaner solution is to add the what we call camera rig rail. And what I can do, as you can see, it creates this sort of form. So we can start working it. and rotate that 180 degrees. So you can then extend that. Let's say we want to extend as long as far as this entire truck. And then at the end, you wanted to duplicate a point from that spline. Rotate it. But keep in mind the curvature tangent itself may be a bit off because we need to adjust it by selecting those tangent points. And maybe we can increase it right here and push it a little bit towards the straight line, right in the middle. And you can try to play this on your own terms. So that's how you are using this camera regularly. Yes, if I can. And so on. But for now, let's just leave as we have it here so that we can then use this to practice our animation. And of course, to attach the car to this camera rig rail, the next section is to make sure we add first our camera rig rail into our sequencer. Then we just go create it. So now what we need also to do is to attach the car to a camera rig rail. So now what I've just done here, as you can see, I need to first select the car and go to attach, and I need to attach to my camera rig rail. And what will happen, your car will basically move away from the entire spline of this rig rail. So what you need to do is go to details panel and then reset your transformations here. And that's pretty much what you need to do. And also another thing we need to also keep in eye is that currently car looks straight on the line, but as you may see, it just shows the camera rig rail, but it doesn't do much because we also need to add, in this case, current position on rail. And the way it dictates the position is between 0 and 1. The 0 means starting point, and 1 is at the end of this case rig rail that ends directly to the last point of this rig rail spline itself. So what you need to do is start from 0, which starts from the beginning. So let me set it to 0 for now. So let's keyframe that. And towards the end, let's say let me try also extend a little bit so it's not only 150 frames. We're gonna push it to further as far, maybe try 500. Depending on the speed of the car, of course. I'm gonna extend a little bit to maybe 270. And also extend on the timeline. And when it ends, it will finish on the last point of our spline point, which is this one there on top. And I'm gonna set this to 1. So now if I hit keyframe, then as you can see, the car slides across the spline. But of course something's wrong because currently it's not setting up to follow the orientation of the spline tangent across this entire spline control. So in this case, what we need to do is also go back to our camera rig rail, and we need to also lock our orientation to rail, which means if you lock it, it will basically snap it into the spline's tangent. So that's how you are fixing this problem. And of course, currently it's accelerating. So if you hit play, as you can see, the car is accelerating, and then at the end we'll slow it down. But because what I tend to do is I usually start off from cubic, but I'm going to set to linear, which means it's already accelerating from the beginning. So if I hit play, it will basically follow the path, but at constant velocity. And then when it turns, then it slows down, and it's decelerates the car towards the end of the last point. So this is very cool, and keep that in mind when you start working with the rig rail spline itself. So the next bit is to set up the camera. So to start off, I'm going to just use this one. And of course, my best settings I like to work with is to go and set up to DLSR. Make sure you always leave a universal zoom, because we can also use this in our sequencer to change the lens settings. Next bit, I'm going to go to film bag, set it to 42mm, which usually is converted to centimeter, and then I'll use this as 16mm on the bottom. So that gives you a really nice view of the film gate itself. Next thing, I'm going to add a components camera, which is this one here, so I can then change my camera focal length for now, and I'm going to set to maybe 70, and I'm going to also adjust our, in this case, depth of field, which definitely needs to be sorted out through here, focus settings. And what you can do is to use the manual focus distance. As you can see, this little drop here that you can select on. If you click on the nearest part of the car, it will basically zoom in and focus enter on the car. And of course, there are so many other things that we need to fix, because we also still need to work out on our the glass and other parts that comes with the rendering. And of course, what we'll do now, I'm going to leave as it is. And also, if you wanted to make the car, in this case, camera follow the car, you can also attach your camera to the car itself. So if you go and attach your camera, we need to attach that to the root, because we need to also extend that. And of course, the camera has been spawned the entire completely wrong place, so you need to make sure you reset your location. Also rotation. Now you see camera has been attached to the car, and of course you can fix this by just moving this camera towards the car's position, just like that. And now, as you may see, now camera focuses and follows the car. And of course, what it's left to do is also keep an eye that the wheels motion of the cars has been set to 0, so then we can also increase that. It's quite simple, because you already created this rig system for this car, so we can then set up here. So if you want to, you can also keyframe that. At that particular section, we can set to, like, say 100 to its maximum speed. And now let's save this. And also, to find this your sequencer, you can just find it here. You can rename it to whatever you want to. It gets always saved on the content browser entirely, so you know where to find it. Let's save this. I'm going to minimize all that, and let's go and check this out. So now you're pretty much ready to have something ready for animation. And what I'll also do is also check out what can be done to fix the, in this case, a visual look, because there are some things that still needs to be taken care of. Like, as you can see, the behind the glass, in this case window, there are some artifacts that's been not properly refracted. So there's a fix for that, and I'll show you how to do this in the next part, because the next part I want to discuss more on the rendering features that needs to be enabled to maximize the quality of the entire car visualization, but at the same time environment that we're working with specifically for the car itself. So thank you so much for the time, and I'll see you in the next chapter, where we're going to discuss on how to set up the rendering post-process for this specific environment. But at the same time, we are going to make sure that we have a car ready for the first render. And specifically, we'll be starting out with the lumens render, and then we'll carry on to path tracer later on in this module. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next chapter.